Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive, Andy. It is the month of November. We are into the heart of the NFL season. We're past the pivot point. We're at a place where I think a lot is known, and the openers are pretty good. Some might even say pretty tight, and grinding an edge is that much harder.
Yeah, this is an NBA podcast now. We're gonna talk. Yeah, it is tougher, and it's funny. I brought up, maybe we'll just talk about this for a second. I know you got to get on a flight here in a bit, so maybe not forever, but I'm starting to that was the project I was telling you about in the DMs today. I'm like, my numbers are the market numbers, pretty much. I mean, they're not exactly, but they're close enough in most of the cases where it's like I got to start looking at matchups. So I'm starting to look at some stuff. I did something semi-similar on a much lower scale with some college basketball once, with some success and some first half bets. But I said, certain teams, the matchups, you need a different, need to come up with some system of coefficients for hey, this team is susceptible to this and this team is not susceptible to this. And, here's the market line for this game, and that's fine. But I mean, the Bengals maybe are the perfect example where if a team can't get a pass rush, they're going to beat the tar out of you offensively if they're healthy. If they are going to get sacked 13 times because the other team has a good pass rush, it's going to be lights out for Joe and the gang. So, looking at some matchup stuff, I'll tweet through it maybe this week as I kind of work through that. It's going to be fun. It's a busy week because college basketball is coming right up, and I got to do some World Cup prep. And also, my last 9 bets were in Brazil Series A.
Whoa!
Yeah, I kind of got after it today in Brazil. So
I like it.
But I have 4 bets I made on the NFL already this week. It's not
well, let's talk. Let's give a little teeny glimpse of process then. Yes, basically at this point, if your fares are broadly off market, you're probably doing something wrong. There's just not enough unknowns at this point, outside of maybe how you rate a given quarterback who doesn't have a very big sample size yet, like a Sam Ellinger or something like that. But for the most part, these are known quantities now, which means if you're making a bet on a team, it's because you think they're going to perform at a percentile that's greater than their median expectation. And that it comes down to a matchup advantage, disadvantage, or the way that you rate up players' availability, inavailability, in terms of the importance to that team getting close to their median. So it's a very kind of, edges are finer. They're smaller. They are. That doesn't mean you can't win. Doesn't mean you can't still grind a profit betting the NFL. But it's starting to get very tough. And with that, let's talk about a game that I could not really find an edge on. Didn't really even try. This might.
Yeah, I know. So legitimately, you can see if you're watching this, you can see Drew is at an airport. He does have to catch a flight in an hour and a half. I don't think we're going to be worried about getting to that flight. This might be a goddamn hour. Because there's legitimately 4 games where I'm not going to have much to say on. And Gil, real quick question before we touch on this. Gil's asking Wong's might be better now. I mean, there's still going to be the same amount of variance. The market's going to be, closer to the median expectation, but probably, especially in these lower total games.
I guess my general thought is it's taken longer this year than in a normal year to sort the teams in terms of who's good and bad. And the middle class is so muddled that for whatever reason, it's been a bad year for Wong's. I don't think it's anything more than variance though. And this has just been a year where finding stable ground has taken a little longer. I remember some years where I felt this way after 4 weeks, and here we are week 9, and I finally feel like this. So, Philly at the Eagles is a mismatch on paper. It's a mismatch in the eyes of the market. 14-point spread for a Thursday night football game is pretty unbelievably large. I think preseason this line would have been what, 6, 7? Definitely wasn't over a touchdown. We may have even talked about that on Sunday, and I've forgotten. But 2 touchdowns is warranted considering the Eagles do everything well and the Texans do nothing well. And I think a total of 45.5 is basically telling you that the Eagles are going to score early and often, and that they may let some garbage time Texans points come in and influence this total to the over. But that's betting on a very specific game state, and if it takes the Eagles a little while to get going because they're running the bad playbook because they're saving the good plays for a more competitive game, then that may be the reality here. Either way, would expect the Eagles not expecting any kind of a shocking letdown here from them.
I think we could whole podcast on double-digit spreads in the NFL, like how the game is completely different, because I mean, even if a team has no idea what the spread is, like, it's painfully apparent that they're a great team. Like, there's not going to be a bad team. Well, I don't know. Tampa Bay was a double-digit spread 2 weeks in a row, but I mean, for the most part, they know they're a good team, and especially at this point in the year, they know they're playing a bad team, and the approach is not the same. The approach is not going to be the same as when Buffalo went to Kansas City, with some of these big matchups like this. So it is super interesting to see these are the ones, even if I don't bet on, and obviously it's a Thursday night game, so I'm going to watch it no matter what. But if this were like, if this were tucked into the noon slate on Sunday, this is one I'd probably like to watch anyway, just to get a feel for how the team is approaching it. Cause it is one where I think you can live bet it once you understand, how they're approaching the game. If they're just looking to get out of Dodge with a quick victory.
Okay. Well, the Eagles did not they did not get caught with their pants down in a letdown spot last week against the Steelers. They came out and kicked ass. Coach Nick Sirianni continues to be the market leader for Coach of the Year. Are you worried about anyone running him down from behind?
Dable losing helped. I've seen somebody in the chat last week or on Sunday said something about Pete Carroll. He's not getting any buzz. People don't want to talk about Pete. I've heard no buzz, even on the media. It's been all about Geno, and I probably want to give that offensive coordinator some credit, because it's not just Waldron. It's Shane Waldron time. It's only his second year in that position. He came from a decent program.
And last year he was handicapped by Russ.
Yeah, so maybe Shane Waldron. Is there an offensive coordinator?
That's tongue in cheek, by the way. There's not, but he'll get some interviews.
He was. Yeah. He was handicapped by an injured Russ.
Russ is mallet finger.
That was a tough year for him. So.
Okay.
I want to give Shane Waldron some credit, but yeah.
If Pete Carroll wins it, that means the Seahawks won the West. At which case, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
if he gets Coach of the Year.
Yeah, Pete Carroll he probably needs the division win, because the Eagles look like they're winning about a baker's dozen +2. Like, it's going to be hard to overcome Sirianni winning like 14, 15 games. Okay. Broncos country, let's tank. Albino, that's funny. So, it's a tough ask. I want to give Shane Waldron some shine. Kevin O'Connell probably passes up Dable in the rankings that the Vikings just keep beating teams they're supposed to beat if this offense keeps improving.
They can't slip up at all, though, because another loss, and it's going to be extremely tough for them to jump the Eagles for the 1 seed. I think the 1 seed of the NFC gets it. It's just a matter of who that is, and it's probably the Eagles right now.
That's the tough part. Like the Vikings maybe do something like 13-4, and Kevin O'Connell wins Coach of the Year like 9 times out of 10. And you just can't give it. You can't give it to him when Sirianni has a 15-win team. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, Peyton Manning, did you see the year he had? Yeah, Adrian Peterson just ran for 2,000 yards on a rebuilt knee. Like, what are we gonna do here?
Can't do it. Yeah, can't.
Yeah, we have to give it to another guy.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving.
Yeah, first half team total over. Otherwise, I'm staying away from that one. I'll bet it at halftime, and I'll bet some first touchdown scores.
Yeah. Okay. So this game is weird. I read the market wrong. We talked about this on Sunday. It was at 6. I said I kind of like the Patriots. A little concerned it goes up to 6.5, maybe even 7. We blink, wake up the next morning, and it's come down to 5.5. That is people's impression of this Patriots team, even coming off of a win against the Jets where they covered. They are willing to go and put their hard-earned money on Sam Ehlinger on the road against Bill Belichick and that defense. And that is wild because Jonathan Taylor's not healthy. The Colts broadly were sellers at the deadline. This is a team that is generally giving up and trying to figure out what they have to rebuild in the future by moving on from Matt Ryan. And yet somebody thinks that they were value against the Patriots, which doesn't make me feel great. I bet the Pats in this spot. I think there will ultimately be support for the Patriots. I think that they are kind of a bet on team just because I think you've got the worst possible performance out of Mac Jones to this point in the season, and that if anything, he either stays where he is or improves. I'm banking on some improvement here, so trying to buy a little low on Mac Jones by laying it with the Pats. Are you with me, or is this a pass for you?
So the trap that we fell into on Monday, the Monday night game, was maybe a little bit of, hey, Belichick has, or this defense, this team in general, has had trouble with running quarterbacks. Ehlinger can get after it with his legs. We didn't see it as much as maybe we will if Jonathan Taylor misses this game. That's another thing, though, too. You can say, oh, maybe he'll run more if you have Jonathan Taylor out. If you have Jonathan Taylor out, are you really going to bet on the Colts? Is that you're going to bet a backup quarterback missing your best piece? Honestly, a guy who's consensus number 1.5 fantasy draft running back, all world guy who had massive stats last year, and you're going to take him away from the offense and bet this team on the road with a young quarterback. It's scary. And Randy Mitchell in the chat's pointing out Ehlinger isn't Fields, which is crazy to say.
Yeah,
because
right.
we were dogging on Fields so much, and I saw that somebody was trying to goad Big Cat, Barstool Big Cat, on the Twitter today about Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, because they compared their whole careers. And Justin Fields, you almost, to Dan's credit, you do got to throw out last year. The Justin Fields we've seen the last 4 or 5 weeks is not the Justin Fields last year.
And the fact that he has improved is an important aspect.
Yeah. The Bears.
Do you want to get on? Do you want to get on a whole diatribe of this right now? Because we're going to talk about Jets.
Once we get
Jets,
to the Miami
Bears.
game, we'll talk about this. But that's kind of what I'm saying. We got caught in the trap, but did we? It was just we ended up betting against the Bears right as the Bears started to figure out how to get this offense going, even without wide receivers, which is crazy. So
they also recovered 19 fumbles in that game, but
Yeah, a lot of smart people are on the Patriots. Such is life. I'm going to lose almost half my bets every year anyway. So
Surely.
That's them's the breaks. And I can't bet Ehlinger. I made a case against him. He's not PJ Walker. Is this actually PJ Walker?
Wow, cool. I like this. PJ Walker makes a very good point. He is no PJ Walker. I bet the Patriots, it's low confidence, trying to buy low on Mac Jones. That's about all there is to it. And, I get the added benefit of going against a rookie on the road, making the first start on the road against the Bill Belichick coach defense. So hopefully this is a long day for Mr. Ehlinger. Buffalo at New York Jets, 13-point spread, 46.5-point total. Not a lot to say about this game except the Bills remain a truck. That was a quasi-unimpressive win on Sunday Night Football against the Packers. Packers covered. Thanks to some kind of inopportune turnovers from Josh Allen. I don't think anything that doesn't shake my confidence in his MVP case at all still, or the fact that the Bills are going to get the 1 seed in the AFC. I project that as by far the most likely outcome of this season. I think the Bills take care of business against the Jets team that does have some feisty, young, good, well-played, well-coached defensive talent, but really is lacking in the quarterback department. And the Zach Wilson experience is, we're closing in on sort of does he get bench territory here? They're saying publicly, giving him the dreaded vote of confidence. But the reality is this team could probably compete for a wild card, if not get one with this young core of talent, if Flacco was steering the ship. Zach Wilson They invested in putting everything good around him. The opposite of the Fields experience, right? Fields, they said, look, we're going to give you nothing. And if you can create chicken salad out of chicken shit, then maybe we'll invest in you. And the Jets went oppo, and they said, we're going to give you everything. And if you can't even get it done with this, then we're moving on. And I think we're closing in on that because the lows that we've seen consistently from Wilson have been untenable. He needs to show some growth, some improvement, particularly out of structure where he is like horrifically bad with the football in his hands. I feel like the coach, you could hear the coaches groan and clench when the pocket breaks down and he's scrambling around behind the field and he tries to throw the ball away last week and it gets picked. Like, I mean, like that kind of stuff is just backbreaking, especially for a young team like this. If you aren't holding your quarterback accountable, then you lose the rest of that young locker room. So Wilson's time is nearing an end. And I don't think this is obviously a very good opportunity for him to try to bounce back against the best team in the league. What say you?
Yeah, Josh Allen was really mad at the end. Like in his interview, you could tell he was keeping it. It wasn't like pissed, but you could tell he was very disappointed in his performance in a game where there was never a doubt he was going to win. Even the Green Bay just kind of handed them hey, you guys can coast. Like here, we're down by 17, but we're going to start this drive with 6 straight runs. So if you guys want to just coast, that's fine. Go ahead.
We'll call off the dogs.
We're gonna let you put in Case Keenum guys. Let's get in.
Yeah, we kind of want to get Jordan Love some reps.
So I can lean towards a Bills first half.
Yeah,
I struggle with these big spreads, but I do think Josh Allen was super disappointed in his performance. Comes out, the offense looks good for the first half, but I can't bet this full game spread because who knows if he even plays in the fourth quarter. Although the Jets from behind, even in garbage time, against a pass rush that can get after it, and the secondary that's starting to get healthy. There's talk of White coming back soon, maybe this week. I don't know. So possible some Bills first half team total over. So you're looking at 23 plus 6, 29. So like maybe a 16.5 first half. That's a bunch.
3 scores.
3 scores in the first half's a lot. I might just play Jets don't do shit, and the Bills cover the first half.
There you go. I like that. Yeah, no other opinion on this game. Just watching for the Zach Wilson confidence issues to rear their ugly head. The young quarterback that the game is slowing down for is at home hosting the Miami Dolphins, and that is the aforementioned Justin Fields of the 3-5 Chicago Bears, who is a 5-point dog in Soldier Field, total sitting at 45.5. A little bit of momentum for the Miami Dolphins in the betting market this week after they trade for Bradley Chubb. Not in the futures market per se, but in this game. Dolphins did the same thing that the Eagles did last year in the offseason, and they said, you know what? We're going to find out one way or the other if we have our quarterback, because we are going to put elite pieces around him and invest all of our future assets in trying to answer the question of, is Tua our guy? Tua's a guy. Tua's a guy. Health still an issue, question mark with him. But other than that, he's answered every other question. And now he takes on a Bears defense that has just traded their 2 better players in their front 7, I guess. Definitely their best player in the front 7. But they still have some decent cover corners and safeties and some young players in the secondary who are noteworthy. But the Bears, I think, did something interesting this week in trading for Chase Claypool. Claypool is a very he's a tough case to study because his formative years have been spent with the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger and whatever the fuck is going on this year with the Steelers offense. So he's a very raw product, but at the same time has had the coaching and development of the best, just sort of the best organization in terms of developing wide receiver talent. So by trading for him, you do shortcut the development process in getting a young weapon to pair with Fields. So I don't mind that they overpaid like a motherfucker to get him. But at the same time, this helps you evaluate not only what to do going forward with the wide receiver room, because you can better evaluate Mooney if you have a second option out there, and you can better evaluate Justin Fields and see if he continues to develop in the passing game. The big difference with Fields in the last handful of starts versus what we saw from him last year and the beginning of this year is the game does appear to be slowing down for him. Which is to say, even under incredible duress behind the worst offensive line in football, he is processing what to do. And not every throw is perfect, but he is at least making much better decisions. He is being more instinctual about when to run the ball, which is making a huge difference in sustaining drive success. And is this a long-term way to succeed at quarterback in the NFL? Probably not. But, at a minimum, if you put young, good pieces around him on this offense, and by the way, the coaching staff looks good in Chicago. They might have hit on a coach and an offensive coordinator there. I understand entirely why the fan base in general feels like there's some buzz, some excitement. Are you there with these guys?
I kind of wonder about that. I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking a little more about the Packers now that we haven't talked about yet. But you wonder if Luke Getsy was part of why that offense kind of hummed last. Yes, losing Devontae Adams is probably more important than losing Luke Getsy.
Sure.
But what he's been able to do from the beginning of the season till now, improving the offense where he had very little to work with. I'm going to give some credit to Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator on there, and I'm going to take some credit from Green Bay and say, like, is LaFleur actually good, or was that a Getsy offense? That's going to be that'll be my off-season conspiracy theory. I bet this over 45. I think you can still find this. The Dolphins, while I love the addition of Bradley Chubb, and I think he probably is somebody you can plug right in because he's a pass rusher, and it's not like he has to learn complicated coverage schemes. It's like, hey, put him in on third downs. Don't make him cover tight ends. Don't make him drop back. Just let him try to kill quarterbacks. And Jeff Wilson was a nice move too. Actually, I like that one actually better. They needed a decent running back. And
sure.
They kind of went in on this, but the Bears defense traded away some decent pieces. This Miami offense looks like it's going to get going if Tua is healthy. And the Bears offense taking a step forward. I'm still not in love with the Miami defense until it's fully congealed and healthy. So I thought this total was low by a couple points.
Yeah. You know what? The biggest downgrade of any team, not just during the trade deadline, but based on what we saw from a production standpoint last week of any unit in the NFL for me was the Bears defense. I had those guys rated too high. They are not good. And now without Roquan Smith and without really, kind of playing a little bit of, what's the right word? They're in development mode. They're not getting a lot of stops. Maybe they'll force some turnovers, but this is a bad matchup for them. And again, I've loved the scripted stuff the Dolphins have done. I like the weapons that they have offensively. So with you 100%, this is an over or pass. And if I had to get involved with the side, I would take the points with the Bears, but I would feel pretty.
Bears D is quiet quitting. That's funny.
Quiet quitting.
Topical James Cole.
Thank you, James.
And then somebody, I want to scoot up. Somebody pointed out that, Jeff Wilson, coming from a Shanahan system.
Oh yeah, plug and play.
That's another just plug and play. Guess what?
Yeah.
This is your offensive coordinator last year, buddy. So.
Wilson and Mostert reunited with their running backs coach, right? Or the running game coordinator. Yeah.
Feels good.
Amazing. All right. Minnesota, Washington.
And Tyreek does have a chance. Tyreek needs to get in the goddamn end zone, though. Both Jefferson and Tyreek have put up some very nice numbers. They need some goddamn touchdowns.
He needs to get in the end zone, and he needs to save an orphanage. He needs like an orphanage full of kids and a bus full of orphan kids.
Not the one full of clocks.
Yeah, right. And a bus full of orphan kids. He needs to somehow save them from driving off of a cliff and get in the good graces of football media mind hive in order to get the consideration. I thought he had a good case, but considering how incredible
he's a criminal.
He's been so unbelievably game-breaking this year and exceeded expectations in every which way, and he's getting no buzz because he's not well liked. And I think actually in the OPOY market, and we'll get to this, I think that he cockblocks every other wide receiver from getting consideration for that award. Right? If he's clearly the best wide receiver, you're like, I am not voting for that asshole.
So real quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sirianni, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, Dallas. Like Micah Parsons.
Parsons, yes.
Probably Sauce, but maybe Tariq if he has something. That's probably a split. Sauce with the edge right now. Tariq Woolen as a case, and then who knows for offensive rookie of the year?
Walker.
Yeah. If he continues, but if they take a step back, there's a chance for Pickett. Pickett should be dead. Like he's just not any good.
No, I think Hurts
and truthfully,
is
Gino has a case. That's the other thing too. If Gino wins comeback player of the year,
he's live. Oh yeah, he's definitely
offensive player of the year is a little. So here, and then offensive rookie of the year, like Dan is saying, is the only one that's crazy wide open.
I think so. Again, here you got to think about how these awards get doled out, right? You sit down with your ballot if you're one of the award voters, and you're like, "What teams do I want to recognize?" And then you make sure you have one individual from every team you want recognized. So MVP is the easiest. Well, the Bills were the best team. I'm giving my MVP vote to Josh Allen. The Bills covered. Scratch off every other Bill, unless they are that much better than every other team. Then maybe McDermott gets consideration. Then they're like, okay, well, we need to recognize the Eagles. Easiest way to do that is Sirianni, coach of the year, in my opinion. Making Hurts offensive player of the year when he's his running.
He's about to play a primetime. Like he's going to get a few primetime games here. That's going to help. I get it. Offensive player of the year is the second most wide open. I think
he's not going to lead. I don't think he's going to lead in any statistical category for the quarterbacks, which is going to hurt him.
Yeah.
He's not going to lead in yards, touchdown passes. He's not going to lead in rushing yards or rushing touchdowns. I don't think. Maybe rushing touchdowns he's leading, but he's got a longer case than I would not make him the favorite. So I think ultimately there is a running back to make a case for, but we will put a pin in that and revisit it at the end of this podcast. Minnesota at Washington. Played this over, read the market wrong, got a bad number. Feel like shit about it, but I still like the over. Where are you on this?
I echo those sentiments. We played this on Sunday. It's been a while since
these defenses both suck.
We've lost a lot of Sunday openers that we've bet, but it's been a while since a Sunday opener moved against us.
That's true. You're right.
Maybe this is a good sign. We've gotten some good numbers, dude. I got the best in number by like 3 damn points in that Raiders over. It didn't matter, but yes, this Vikings defense has some names on it, and Zadarius Smith is getting after it like nobody else right now. He is getting almost as much pressure on quarterbacks as anyone in the league. And and last week he finished a couple. He looked really good. Did he win he should have won like a defensive player of the year for the NFC or something. I don't know who actually.
Yeah, Zadarius Smith was the defensive player.
Was he? I don't pay attention. Those awards are so fucking meaningless. But
he was.
He's okay. Harrison Smith is still a force. He's still a very good safety back there. The rest of this defense is not good. They've played some bad teams. They played the Bears early before they got going. They played the Lions in a spot where they, still gave up a bunch of points. They gave up a bunch to the Cardinals. 3 games I mentioned that they were losing at one point. And then once they get going, later it's like, oh, okay, the Vikings come out strong. Then they give up the lead and then they come back. And in that
rinse, repeat.
Yeah, if we're gonna rinse and repeat that, I don't know how we stay under 45 points in this one.
I don't either.
Again, and I really like it. It was a tougher defense they faced last week. Granted, they only had 10 points going into that final drive. The Commanders, I don't know, like how do you expect them to score 20, 21, however much you think you need them to get this over, but I think just another week of Heineke against a worse defense. I have the Vikings defense worse than Indy. At home, I think Heineke, McLaurin, Samuel, the running backs, they get something going against the secondary. Yeah. And the Vikings offense, 5 for 5 in the red zone. Yeah. Like we said, if KOC is getting something going finally, watch out.
I like his red. Yeah.
Yeah. This Vikings offense was very efficient last week.
Yeah. And their red zone looks especially were very creative. I think this has all the makings of Vikings comeback win in the fourth quarter, right? Like
the half is pointing. The half is pointing, and Vikes going to show the vanilla plays this week to show off against Buffalo next week.
That's possible.
If they do that, they're going to get behind, and they're going to
have to. Yeah, this is like a score and answer kind of deal. I really think so. by the way, as you know, special teams player of the week last week was not the Giants punt returner.
No.
It was Will Dissly of Seattle, who I think recovered a couple of those fumbled punts. Moving on to Green Bay at Detroit. Boy, dude. Everything.
This is the buy low spot in the Packers, isn't it?
I mean, it's supposed to be, but it's 3.5 on the road with that offense. Good God.
Do you remember what I said about the Miami Dolphins, who I feel differently about than I did a couple weeks ago? But I said,
yes, I do.
I said, I can't bet the Miami Dolphins laying over a field goal on the road, even against a bad Lions defense. They won by 4.
Yes.
That was a very median outcome.
Rinse and repeat.
In what world right now is the current iteration of the Packers offense better than Tua, Waddle, Reek, and everything going on down there? Like this is an offense that is fully predicated on running the ball. And yes, you can do whatever you want against the Lions game. And Harrison, yes, I did bet the over in the Vikings game. Points. Hoping for some. Hopefully Samuel can catch some balls, but I guess the Packers likely move the ball, but the Packers offense is really rough too. Or defense, excuse me. The defense took a big step back. Yeah. The Lions, they lose Hawk to the Vikings. We didn't even mention him in the Vikes breakdown. I'm not sure how much action he sees, but the Lions, Swift, maybe not 100%. That's why I think this total is coming down to the Lions when they're healthy are a crazy over team. Like they're a lot of fun. When they're not healthy, these games are going to get ugly,
weird,
like the Patriots one. So I felt like I wanted to bet this under.
I can't bet this. Yeah. I've flirted with Lions unders a lot this season, and I'm thankful that I have not pulled the trigger because I feel like everyone I've gotten close on would have lost. Between these two teams, if I told you one of them salvages some semblance of their season, I kind of feel like the Lions are the more likely of those two.
And it's funny because they shouldn't.
They shouldn't be.
They should.
I'm not saying that they like. I'm not I'm not going to try to sell you on 50-1 to win the North. I'm not going to say it. But there are people there that have to start winning to save their jobs. So I don't know that they are really and truly tanking. I think like as I look at their results, like their defense has been fucking terrible, but like they have been closer as a team to actually putting together winning football than the Packers have. Like the Packers have had just some miserable games, and I don't know why, but I feel like the Lions are closer. And I can't get involved with the Packers at 3.5. Not against a team that at least has sort of a physical, good offensive line and can kind of give you some sort of rushing attack against that soft unit. So, I'm not interested in buying low on Packers here, but the market was because this has moved from 3 to 3.5. Yeah.
So, and I get the Packers are a short favorite here, but it's close enough where they could absolutely lose this game. It's a road game. They've looked terrible. And the Vikings are a short road favorite as well. If those two outcomes turn out, Packers drop a game, Vikings win theirs, and then the Dolphins take care of business, the Vikings essentially have the division. Like they'll be 3-0 in the division already with like a 4.5 game lead. It's lunacy how wide margin just the gift's been giving to Minnesota, because it's still I'm trying to sell myself on, all right, KOC is it's sometimes it's not just instant. He doesn't just show up from LA and the offense is fixed. Sometimes it takes a bit. Maybe it took all the way to the bye week. What we saw last week is what we're going to get. At least 80 to 90% of what we saw last week is what you're getting from this offense when it works out. And if that's the case, good for them. But if it's not, like, it's maybe not that great of a team to be just coasting to a division win.
Well, wild. Andy, you want to know, as we sit here this moment, my two most likely division winners?
Minnesota, Buffalo?
No.
I suppose Miami's not too far back.
No.
Minnesota and
Tennessee. Two
Tennessee,
absolute. Are these teams good? Two absolute. Are these teams good? Like, seriously, are these teams any good? One of them is 13-point dogs this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say Tennessee is a division-leading 13-point underdog.
Amazing. Unbelievable. But you're right. This is, a Lions win here. Basically, this is, put a nail in it. It's over. Vikings win the North. I should mention situationally, this is an awful spot for the Packers. Third straight road game.
Yeah.
Also, third straight road game, and recently have traveled to London.
That's what's kind of keeping me off the buy low spot. Plus the fact that they suck balls. Just the offense,
two factors alone.
Yeah,
those two factors alone. Yes.
they have one of the generational quarterback, and they've turned into an offense that, oh man, we have to run the ball to make anything happen. If we want to have any successful plays and get a new series of downs, we have to run the ball 2 out of 3 plays.
Yeah, we desperately need A.J. Dillon to get to 4 yards per carry. If we're going to succeed.
Not what they probably envisioned.
Not how you want to.
In preseason, we did envision Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon getting very involved, but they
haven't been good.
We said as slot receivers.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, Aaron Jones has been amazing in the passing game, but they're not utilizing him enough. No. Weird. Let's keep moving. Chargers are one of the only early team sides I took this week at 3.
I changed my mind on this.
I haven't gotten a ton of support on the injury report, and I didn't super expect it. This is not a sophisticated handicap. I just have a high rating on Justin Herbert. I think that most of what we've seen from him this season was a recovery from a significant injury, not necessarily a degradation of his his skill. I think he is good enough to get it done with the likes of the Palmers and the what's the other guy who he's going to have to lean on. Palmer just cleared concussion protocol, so he doesn't have a ton of reps. There's not going to be a Keenan Allen in this game. There's not going to be a Mike Williams. It's going to be Gerald Everett show. It's going to be Palmer. It's going to be I'm forgetting the other guy's name.
Michael Bandy?
No, not him. There's another wide receiver with a name that's super close to Palmer. Anyway,
Carter.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
DeAndre
Carter, Palmer, Gerald Everett, Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler should have the most targets of anyone in this game.
Yeah, a lot of errs in this game. A lot of Justin Herbert carving a defense that's missing its most important pieces in the secondary, to the tune that they had to trade for a guy that lost his starting job for the Kansas City Chiefs just to have warm bodies to trot out there for the secondary. Falcons probably the most fraudulent 4-4 going. I don't think that with one-dimensional running attack you can succeed long-term in the NFL. I don't think with 2 weeks to prep that Staley's not going to have some answer to make his defense look a little bit better against a one-dimensional offense. If ultimately the Falcons pull the old, switcheroo and are leaning heavily into the passing game in this one and catch the Chargers a little by surprise, I still like the upgrade that they have now in the secondary by getting rid of, by not having J.C. Jackson involved. He's obviously out with injury. But still a really, really strong secondary. Hopefully that this is one-way action Chargers. You think that there's a better angle to bet, though? Yes?
Yeah, I'm with you. I really love the offensive matchup. The prep time, the A.J. Terrell injury that's not happening. Jalen Hawkins is practicing. I don't.
Yeah? How much is he worth the line?
Nothing. It helps. It helps, but
it's not a bad.
I'm saying it's not all doom and gloom for Atlanta's defense, but AJ Terrell probably not playing, and the Falcons. I'm not sure they'll play Patterson. I really actually doubt they would bring him back this quick. They have another game on Thursday. That's where I would bring him back, but. It maybe doesn't matter. They have other running backs that have shown success against defenses that can be exposed through the run game. I think they're going to get their way on the ground, and okay. I bet a cheap over 50 in this. So
that's good.
That's a good look. Over.
Okay, both of those are fair. I don't think that this is going to be a ball control no show for either of these offenses. This is going to be score. Excited
No,
to see Justin.
hopefully it's just like, hopefully it's like 38-20.
I'm just excited for people to come out of this game with I forgot about Justin Herbert. Oh my gosh, he's back. He looks better. Oh my gosh, they made a couple of adjustments in terms of roles and responsibilities on that offensive line, and it's not a horror show anymore. And I'm also excited for people to realize the Chargers are in the mix still for a playoff spot in the AFC.
They have a winning record. They're not that far out.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go Superchargers. Passed on this one. There's been a little bit of momentum in favor of the Panthers here at the Bengals. We're, of course, talking about the 2-6 PJ Walker-led Panthers at the 4-4 Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals broke my heart on Monday. That was awful. This team puked all of the equity that they had after their slow start and those hard-fought wins with just an absolute no-show against the Browns. Defense especially was an embarrassment, even though they've gotten a couple of important players back. Now they lose a cornerback, probably their better cornerback. As their CB1 basically is gone for the year, which sucks for the Bengals. Jamar Chase still has a multitude of weeks of recovery before he comes back. So this is the T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd only show through the air. Offensive line still not coming together for Cincy, yet they're 7-point favorites. And PJ Walker says himself he's going to whip that Bengal ass like Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, of course, is the Tiger King. If you forgot about that flash in the pan Netflix show that happened during the pandemic.
I have a sidebar here. So the only time I'll watch actual TV is if it's on after a sporting event, and sometimes I'll catch the news after like a late primetime game, and I'm watching the news, and like after the break, we'll talk about how a local animal rescue thing is helping tigers out of the Ukraine who are displaced by war. And that was the story. Whatever. That's it's a fluff piece, but they totally buried the lead. They're like, they haven't actually shipped any tigers from the Ukraine here yet. They're going to. They're in like England right now. They are saving tigers who are displaced by the war. But they said at this sanctuary in Minnesota right now, they showed like, here's a pair of tigers that were taken from, and it was like Tiger King Sanctuary in Oklahoma. And I'd look, I'm like, you're not even going to mention that it's like the Tiger King. Like that's where this is like, that's how this is filling up for tigers. So it just killed me. I had to rewind that. I'm like, are they talking about the same place? But regardless, yes, the Battle of the Cats here, I did take some Panthers, like you said, missing a secondary, not a secondary piece, the secondary piece for the Bengals. And on the flip side, Jeremy Chin, possible back. Brian Burns is, if you're on a better team, he'd be getting a lot of buzz. Like he did get a lot of buzz in the trade market, and I think Carolina probably smart to hold on.
He almost got double the compensation that the Broncos got for Bradley Chubb.
Yeah. Brian Burns is very good. This Panthers team is horseshit. They're not good, but that's because you just traded away Christian McCaffrey. You traded away Robbie. Like you traded away some offensive pieces because you're in tank mode. That's fine. You really, really effed up at quarterback. Luckily, you had a savior come back from the NFL and save you a little here, but this defense is actually kind of good. Like there's some pretty decent pieces on this defense. Like Andy, they just gave up like 1 million points to the Falcons. I'm like, not saying they're great, but they have some pieces they can match up against a team like this. And what we saw from that offense, if you can get after the pass rush and you have anything in your secondary, apparently you can slow down this Bengals team. It is at Cincinnati. I'm not saying the Panthers win, but I bet a 7.5 here. I think this is an ugly game, and I think PJ Walker is able to attack this depleted secondary a little right now. So, Jesus, like I feel gross, but this one, I'm like, why isn't this 6.5?
Yeah, PJ Walker is on might be good watch officially. I like that look. Vegas at the Jags. Impossible handicap. Your guess is as good as mine. Are the Jags good or are they ass? Are the Raiders going to benefit from staying on the East Coast all week, or is this a team that Josh McDaniels is already losing? what are the Raiders? What is their identity? Are they feeling any pressure?
Did we lose Drew?
2-5 record here.
You get a text.
I got a phone call. Yeah. Shower fart game of the week. Yeah, really, really no strong read here on what we do with either of these teams. But yeah, 2 lost seasons. Don't really know what to say.
I bet on the Raiders over last week. I got punched in the mouth so hard by that team. I have no read on the Raiders. If there was a team I had less of a read on, it would probably be the Jaguars. These were 2 teams I was kind of high on. Trevor Lawrence has looked kind of lost. He hasn't improved like we thought we'd see this year. The defense has some fun young players, but hasn't gelled enough to be called good at this point. Your guess is as good as mine. Either team could win by like 3 touchdowns, and I would be just like, yep, that's okay. That was something that happened, and I'm not surprised. I have zero read on either of these teams, and I think sometimes that's fine. Like my numbers say this game should be, within a field goal one way or the other, and that's where the number is. If you gave me money to bet this game, I would just abscond with it. You'd never hear from me again.
Yeah.
I would just run away. Actually, you know what? I would bet the Jaguars money line. They're at home and they're an underdog. Like if you made me bet this. So I will not bet this. You can't make me. And yeah, I don't have a good understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's keep moving. Best of luck to whoever ultimately doesn't win that game. Seahawks at Cardinals. My ratings obviously make the Seahawks better than the Cardinals. And I don't give the Cardinals a ton of home field advantage. So one might wonder, did you bet the Seahawks? And I will say, yes, I did. But I didn't stake as much as I have been because the edge is not as big as it has been. Seahawks were meaningful dogs to this team.
Talk me into this because I wanted to bet this on Sunday.
I mean, it's just a matter of the Cardinals. The Cardinals are on quit watch. They really are. Kyler Murray literally tanking to get Cliff Kingsbury fired feels imminent. Like it may happen this week. It may happen in a couple of weeks, but the chemistry is just the magic is gone. Murray got paid, and he is ultimately the immovable piece there. The GM and the coach still can be flexed out, and I think Kyler Murray is going to figure out exactly how much power he has with that franchise. Similarly, the Cardinals don't match up well against the Seahawks defensively. The Seahawks defense is playing fucking great, man. They are really playing great. Did you know that they were by EPA per play the number 3 defense in the second quarter of the season?
Do you remember how long I talked about their defense in the preseason pod?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because it was all talentless nobodies, and they were like, you're really gonna expect that some cornerbacks that you drafted, you're going to start right away, that they're going to be able to be competent NFL contributors? No way. But Pete Carroll had a different vision, and that is that I'm going to, hands-on coach these guys up and make sure that they are players, and they are getting better every week, and they didn't lose confidence in themselves even after a terrible start to the season. And Geno Smith is emerged as a bona fide NFL player. Like somebody was going to, in this vacuum of good quarterback play in the NFL, somebody was going to step into the void, and it was Geno Smith. And he is that guy. And he's got DK Metcalf playing for him. But DK Metcalf, as we were joking, seemed fine. He looks good. Ken Walker the third, offensive rookie of the year for my money. He's got
now he is.
He's the guy that gets tagged.
Somebody really wants to text you right
now. Somebody is really, really desperately trying to get in touch with me. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, the case is not super
for
strong
those who drop it in the chat here. For those of you teasing this game, what are you teasing it with?
Great question.
There's not a really good partner unless you wanted to use the Jags, and both of these games are totals closer to 50. That makes me a little sketched out. The Bengals are around a 7.5, but like I've just mentioned, I'm not super excited about betting on the Bengals right now in this matchup. I hate doing something like this, but I'm half tempted to take a Bills 6.5, Seahawks +8 teaser. Very unwong like, but I'm not Washington sicko mode. There you go. Non-Wong Buffalo. Look at that. Gil's on the same page as me. So yeah, Falcons, that's maybe not the worst look. So, and yeah, a couple people are saying Bills. I'm gonna put a teaser. Smaller, so I'm gonna normally what I would bet on the Seahawks here. I'm gonna take half, bet the money line, and I'm gonna bet half on a Beefalo -6.5 Seahawks +8. Wait, teaser.
Okay.
It's in.
Okay. Let's go Seahawks. Just do not disappoint me. Don't let me down. Carry on, you mighty Ballhawks. Rams Bucks played an over. Don't love either defense here. Buccaneers in particular, the loss of Shaq Barrett matters to me. Secondary hurt matters to me. And I think in general, Rams matched up. The Rams in general match up well against the Buccaneers in terms of defensive scheme. So, I will rejoin in just a second, but I gotta return this call. It's an absolute emergency, and then I'll be right back. So you set up Rams Bucks. Sorry.
This is funny. Secret pod play. Let's talk about that because it would be a secret if Drew weren't here. And look at this. My edges are showing. Not that I had any edges. I had a winning week last week. I guess I had a couple edges. We'll have to work on that secret pod play. So I was super tempted by this over too. These are teams that have a bunch of star power. They were supposed to be good offenses, and the defenses are struggling. The Rams defense struggled. The Bucks, like we said, lost Shaq Barrett. That's going to be a big problem for them. But man, I struggled to get behind either of these offenses. Cooper Kupp did not practice today. We've seen just Tom Brady, again, we talked about this a couple times for, 3 weeks now, just not on the same page. They can't run the ball. The Rams can't really run the ball either. They're also, if anyone has any info on like the Cam Akers thing, like why the team and him hate each other, I know they're calling it like a personal issue or whatever they want to call it, just personal. He's taking time off or personal reasons for some of the injury stuff, which is what they're doing right now in the Texans game as well with Brandon Cooks. But I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with him. And he wasn't good when he was throwing the ball at else. Coach's wife picks. I have no idea. It might be a Taysom Hill situation. So I can't get excited about either of these offense. I understand Drew playing it. Maybe it's the low bounce in the market. And these offenses do finally pick it up against some decent matchups for them against the shitty Rams defense, honestly, at this point, and a Tampa Bay defense that just has suffered another injury at this point. And I don't know what the Antoine Winfield situation is. I think it might be another week. He wasn't in practice today. Barrett isn't going to be in practice for a long time with that injury. So I can't bet this game either. We'll let Drew maybe sell it when he comes back, if he ever does come back. But for these reasons, I am out on this one. I'm done betting these games unless it's unless the Rams want to play the Niners a third time and let me just bet on the Niners again, because that one felt so stupid easy after the fact and maybe before the fact too. So it's a case where I would probably take the dog if he made me bet a side here. The Bucs offense just can't seem to get moving even against teams they should. Like the fact that, and I did talk up the Carolina defense, but the fact that they scored 3 points there, dropped a touchdown, I guess. So maybe they do get it moving, but I'm not going to find out with any real money. Kansas, we're just going to skip to the Kansas City game because I bet it. I bet a 13 here. I don't know if there's a real bit. You can say 13's kind of key. Maybe I should check. It might even be a 12.5. But this is one of those two where there's not a big difference between 11, 12, 12.5, 13. All of this, just anything over 10 for me here. This is a spot too where I guess the Chiefs are very good, and we've seen it 3 or 4 times where they've really trucked. The offense has looked really, really good against a couple of these teams. I don't know if this is one of these spots. I don't think the Titans can win this game, but Derrick Henry's been looking good. They've been using him more in the pass game over the past month. That seems to have worked. He seems like he's rejuvenated. He's having a bit of a foot issue, which is making me nervous. And yes, the Andy Reid thing, little bit of a distraction week for Andy Reid with the legal situation with his son. I didn't take that into account a ton, but it doesn't hurt. So this is maybe not a big difference from Willis to Tannehill. I don't know. I know he only threw for 55 yards, but does the game plan change that much? And it's always going to be overvalued here now with the Chiefs at the point where if every single shitty gambling shows start talking about Andy Reid off a bye, there's probably going to be just a small modicum of inherent value on the other end. Like I don't think any team in the league should be almost 2 touchdowns favored over any other team. Truthfully, at home, yes, I get it off the bye, that helps, but right now the Titans are a middle of the pack team, and the Chiefs are right there towards the top. I have this at like 9.5. So that's home field advantage is still only like 1.7, 1.8. And yeah, like Randy Mitchell says here, Randy could play quarterback if they're just going to give Henry 30 carries. Stack the box, maybe we get something over the top. I don't know if we'll see Tannehill. I'm not sure if anyone has an opinion on that. I don't know that it matters. It's funny too that the total too has kind of puzzled me. If the Titans do end up starting Malik Willis, what would be your game plan? It's hey, Derrick Henry touches the ball 1 trillion times. We try to have 8-minute drives. I know the Chiefs can score and they can score quick, and maybe that's what takes us over the total. But truthfully, I think if the Titans end up with some long field goal drives, this total is doomed to stay under. The only way the Chiefs are going to score, 28, 30 points in this game is if the Titans push them. And we saw the offense last week. It wasn't great. It was plodding, and it did just enough because they weren't really getting pushed by what is truthfully now the worst team in the league and in the Houston Texans. But Willis under 0.5 passing touchdowns, Randy says, plus 190. Back to the well if he plays. I'm fine taking the Titans to get to, God, I don't know what, like 14 points here. I don't think we need a ton of points to cover this. I'm fine looking at this under as well, but for me to bet twice in a game is unusual, and for me to get too excited about a Chiefs under is even more unusual, just based on if things start going well for the Titans, they punch a couple in, the under might be toast, because then the Chiefs have to kick it into high gear, reach back into the playbook, pull out the good plays, and then all of a sudden it is, we're looking at a 28-20 game, and this one's over the total. So yeah, Drew is still on the phone. He's on a business trip, guys. Sorry. We can do AMA. We can do Ask Me Anything. Anyone want to talk? We don't usually do this because we end up with not enough time, but we can talk Monday night. Ravens are coming off there's a word for this. The mini maxi buy, the extra super buy, the double coming off a Thursday, heading into a Monday, getting extra time with a experienced coaching staff. He's not a veteran yet, but a good quarterback, a team that just looked really good in a primetime game. And we've got, a team that's had a shitload of injuries, had to start a couple different quarterbacks, and it still hasn't mattered. The Saints offense keeps trucking. They won a game where part of my handicap for that over was, hey, the Saints offense is going to move. The Saints offense is going to be just fine, and the Raiders should be able to attack this defense, right? Latimore's out. They should be able to go over the top. They have Devontae Adams. They're rested. They have a Derek Carr who's a little underrated. My God. I don't know how it all went wrong there, but I do like the Saints quite a bit. Do we get? Yeah, I think you only get the one taco, Gil, based on how many stolen bases there are. Looks like we haven't had any runs yet in this one. We haven't even have a hit for the Phillies, but Schwarbo's up with 2 outs, somebody on. I think you do get the one taco and really don't go get like if you get in line, the lines are stupid long, and a taco costs like 89 cents, guys. Go try to spend $28 like I did. Feel like shit all day long. The line has moved a little towards New Orleans. I understand that. Their defense kind of hit and miss for me this year, but the offense, like we've said, doesn't matter who's out there. It seems to still keep humming. I'm glad they've kept Taysom away from starting or playing too much quarterback. He is an elite weapon out in space. Obviously had the one huge game, which was crazy, but I'm a big Olave guy. I know Kenneth Walker is your favorite in the clubhouse. I agree with everything Drew said about that, but man, if he were to, I can't cheer for injuries. I think the only way he doesn't win it is probably some injury stuff, and I can't cheer for that because that's bad karma when I'm waiting on a Powerball winner here. But I think that there is a decent chance Olave could step in if Kenneth Walker were to miss time or he would start to play poorly because, we can look back at this wide receiver class in a few years. It might be Drake London. It might be Mechie. It might be, I can't think of the guy's name up in Tennessee right now. That we're not seeing the best of Drake London because of how the offense is down there. We're not seeing Mechie at all because he's gotten ill, and we're not seeing the motherfucker in Tennessee whose name is escaping me right now. But some of these guys, a couple of years down the road might be awful good. We're just not getting it yet. But for my money right now, out of Treylon Burks, thank you, Dan. For my money right now, out of this rookie wide receiver class, Olave and Pickett, and then there's a gap. There's a decent gap here. So, and Pickett, he has his own Pickens. Pickens is his name. Pickett is the problem. I talked about Mechie with the sickness, Burks with the injury, Drake London with the anemic style of offense, but Kenny Pickett might be the problem for Mr. George Pickens, although he did have a highlight catch. Wilson, that's fair. Wilson was playing well in New York. He lost some shine because of Breece Hall taking some of that away from him, but it was fun to bet 30 of these offensive rookie of the year bets over the course of the season. I think every single wide receiver who got drafted made an appearance in the Deep Dive DGen Discord. Somebody bet Romeo Dubs got a bunch of action. I know some people got huge numbers on him. That's unfortunate that offense stinks. I'm trying to think who else there was. I bet on whoever Dallas's wide receiver that doesn't get any action. I have a Wandale ticket. That hasn't turned out to do anything. That's crazy how many of those we all bet. But yeah, Najee turned poorly. So, and Jalen Tolbert, thank you. Noah Brown, yeah. It was Tolbert. Tolbert was who I bet. So, looks like Drew got on a flight. So, I didn't take any action. I could make a case for New Orleans to be the other side of a teaser, getting that number, but I do have a lot of respect for what Baltimore did and the fact that they're in such a catbird seat for having the 11 days between games. That's a big rest spot for a very smart coaching staff. So I'm staying away from that one altogether. We will bet some first touchdown scores Monday on Brown Bag Bets. I will bet halftime with Drew, obviously, depending if he's on an airplane or not. And yeah, that's probably all the action. So we never do this, but summing it up, because maybe some of you guys hopped in late. I took the Vikings over. I took the Bears over. I took the Chargers over. I bet the Panthers 7.5, and I bet the Titans plus 13. So some overs and some ugly, ugly teams for me. And then Drew did talk me into a small position on Seattle money line. That was something we'd talked about on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. I got plus 115 on low vig right now. And then I went over to the book that lets me get minus 110 on my teasers, and I bet a Buffalo minus 6.5, Seattle +8 teaser. And the secret pod play, I don't know which one. What do you guys think we aligned on the most? It has to be like an agreement between Drew and I. I think we were both pretty keen on maybe Miami. I'm not sure what that team total would be. You're talking a 23 and 3/4 plus. Miami's going to be like 26 to put it up on the Bears, but they are at home. So let's go with Miami. Miami team total over. Okay, everyone just said Chargers. It's going to be Chargers. And we won't tell Drew. We'll make Drew watch the show. So, such is life for him. Tough titty, said the kitty, but the milk's still good. Chargers team total over. 26.5. San Diego Superchargers. They're coming your way. They're going to dazzle you with their play. Thunderbolts and lightning. God, I love that song. I'm gonna have to go find that. Hit the like button on the way out. R.I.P. Drew. Hopefully he's okay. Who knows? He could have been it was probably airport security. I mean, just look at his hair and how he looks. Like, they probably arrested him. Like, this is a George Young character. He's smuggling drugs. So hopefully he makes it out of the airport prison all right. We don't need a Midnight Express situation. And we'll catch you guys Thursday night tomorrow on halftime. And Charles Xavier says Raiders money line for a closer before we go. He's a mule.
It helps to hit the right.
Yeah, shout out to Drew. He's a good looking guy.
Yeah.
But good looking, but shady looking. Like, he could be a drug mule. Oh, now he's back. Drew, I'm back.
Sorry about that, guys. Fuck, man.
That's pretty funny.
I'm